In this video, I'm going to show you how you can invoke functions in other scripts. In our cube demo last time, the place where we called invoke was also the same object that was where the function that was being called lived. So everything was self-contained in one script, but it's possible to invoke a function in another object, and that can be useful for stuff like in 5 seconds when I push the switch and then in 5 seconds tell the door to open, or I push the dynamite plunger down in 3 seconds I need the dynamite to explode. So let's take a look at what we've got here and how we can make that happen. What I've done in my scene is I've added an object to act as the game controller. This is a very common pattern to follow in games. You have some empty object in the scene that just is the game controller, and once it's there you just turn off its mesh renderer and its colliders, and now it's just kind of there but not there. And also set its tag to be game controller just so you can find it easily using its tag. So what we're going to do is have our controller tell this cube to go away. So we're going to have this object, this is the controller, invoking a function in this object. If I go back to my cube script, I've changed it around a little bit. I have deleted out the functions I'm not using, and I've made a public function called boom and another function called destroy. If you don't see the word public in front of something, it becomes private by default. So public is there kind of for anybody to call. So I have a public function, and what it does is it prints boom out on the command line or on the console, and then in 3 seconds it will call its destroy function. It queues up the destroy function to be called in 3 seconds. So 3 seconds later, this thing will, let's say, instead of boom, let's just say bye, and then it will destroy itself. So destroy, this is just one of those things you have to memorize. Game object.destroy this.game object. This is a way of destroying yourself. This object will destroy, or this function call will destroy the object that this script is on. It's kind of interesting. If you don't do that, if you just do game object.destroy this, it will remove this script off of the object, but it won't destroy the object. So this is the syntax for destroying yourself. So the whole purpose of this is we have some publicly exposed function other scripts can call. It will print out boom and queue up the destroy function to go off in 3 seconds, and then the destroy function will destroy the object. Let's go back to the controller. So if we want the controller to invoke the boom function in the cube, the controller has to somehow have a reference to the cube. And we can make a variable to reference the cube. But what type is it going to be? Well, scripts actually are components, and we can make variables of their types. So a cube script here actually is a type. Why is it a type that we can, why is it a component that we can make variables of? Because it inherits mono behavior, and if you actually explore down into the mono behavior hierarchy, at some point you'll find component. So a cube script is a component through inheritance. The component is a sort of a distant ancestor of the cube. But it's part of this object's hierarchy. And in our controller script, I can now make a variable of type cube. Right? See just how I have a cube here, cube.cs? That's what this is. I'm making a variable of, or that stores a reference to a cube script. And I'll call it cube1. And I'll save my script. Now if I go over to Unity and we look at the controller, you will see, look, we have a publicly exposed field here, cube1. This is where I can drag in anything that has a cube script on it. What has a cube script on it? Our cube. Our cube has a cube script on it. So let's drag this down here. Now our controller has a reference to this cube in our scene. This object has a reference to this object. Or more accurately, this object has a reference to the script on this object. And now let's go back to our controller script, and in the start function here, I can now say, well, no, I don't want to type invoke. So if I type invoke like that, what it's doing is it's going to invoke a function in this script. But I want to invoke a function in another script. Do I have another script? Yes, this guy, cube1.invoke. And what function do I want to invoke? Boom. And I'll invoke it in 3 seconds. And then I'll also just log debug.log invoking boom. So when the controller starts up, it'll invoke the boom function where? In the cube1 script. I'm going to tell that guy to queue up his boom function to go off in 3 seconds. Then this function will go off, and it will invoke or queue up the destroy function to go off in 3 seconds. So let's see if it works. And let me clear the console. Well, actually, let me run it again, having just cleared the console. I see nothing. Why? Let's go investigate, shall we? I think the real culprit is that I forgot to save the script. So anytime you see a star right there next to the name of a file, that just means you have not saved it. I will click the little save icon, and now let's run this again, and also just verify. Yeah, no, it looks good. It looks good. Okay. A possible misspelling? Let's take a look. Well, it seems to work, so I guess I just needed to save it. Let's run this and see what it does. So this controller started up and it said invoking boom. Now the boom function gets called, and finally the object gets destroyed. So there's an example of how you can create kind of chains O command where you have one object telling another object what to do. Other stuff, let's see, save scene. Okay, so anytime you see the star next to a scene, you want to save that. Scene, think of the scenes as levels in your game. You can have multiple scenes, and if you want to just rename the scene, can we rename it? We should maybe look at how to do that. So down here, I could probably rename the scene if I just click on it. I'll call this scene 1. And now you can see scene 1 has been renamed, although I misspelled it. So that's just kind of some minor irritation that's been bugging me. Everything has been called like starter scene or whatever that was, sample scene. Okay, so there you go. That's how to use invoke on other scripts.